Back, everybody. Thanks for joining us again.
I'm here.
Obviously, if
Yeah,
you were
your video
watching
on
the tail end of the president's coronavirus task force, you probably saw what I saw, which was the stock continuing to free fall into the end of the market. The more Donald Trump further the Dow and the S&P down over 13% on the day. 3,000 points lost in the Dow, an unprecedented number, historical in that it's 50% greater than the last historical number, which happened only last week. So obviously, the market is transmitting to the president and his coronavirus task force that there's not a high degree of conviction that the government can do anything. The journalistic scrum was equally disappointing. Vapid questions, to say the least, from the assembled journalists there. Nobody asked them what was the president's reaction to the response to no response of $5.2 trillion worth of stimulus. Nobody asked the president what was next for the economy. How was he going to force companies to pay sick pay when those companies themselves are starting to spiral into the ground? A demonstration of complete ineptitude on the part of the president of the United States. And it is clear that the United States is leading the world and accelerating us all towards some kind of financial collapse that the full scale and scope of which will not yet be seen. Ed, what'd you see in the S&P at the end of the day there?
Well, I just saw that the NASDAQ. I just saw, the NASDAQ has had its worst day ever. Worst day ever. Okay, these are events like as you pointed out, as when they started talking, started to sell off. I thought maybe it was going to double bounce, but look, we got to expect. The trend is your friend until proven otherwise. I noticed gold is back over 1,500 after being as low as 1,450, 1,460. I want to see interest rates started to drop. This is unprecedented. We're in historic times. We're going to look back at this. We're going to, people say, well, were you around when this happened? And we can say, hey, not only were we around, we were doing a bit of a podcast here.
Yeah. So just for mutual edification, I'm going to try to get us.
By the way,
my screen, pull up the chart.
By the way, I will say this. I don't know what the reason is, but American Airlines is up on the day. American Airlines is up on the day, and I guess a lot of the airline companies are off their lows by quite a bit, which I don't know if that means that we're coming near a bottom, but this is the kinds of things you got to see. You got to start to see things that you're not expecting.
Right. Okay, well, so here's the look at gold towards the end of the day. Oh, yeah? How about now?
Okay, I see a screen. I see a chart here of gold.
Okay, so here's gold. The end of the day started to free fall right at 4 o'clock after it shot up. So if you're looking at this chart, what this tells us, no uncertain terms, that there is active interference in the price of gold on the part of U.S. dollar-sponsored interest in the form of the futures market, probably in the form of the President's Group, Working Group on Capital Markets. Obviously, very focused on ensuring that the price of gold does not greatly juxtapose the performance of the U.S. dollar and U.S. markets. It's very important to U.S. dollar interests that the optics of a falling gold price alongside falling markets is maintained. And you're seeing that at the end of the day here as the forces, the shadow groups operating on behalf of the U.S. economic interests drive the price of gold down. We'll probably see that trend continue here, though it looks like they've had a hard time getting it down below. Oh, they'll probably want to send it back to this level here. If you look at the this morning, they had the gold price down here to just above 1450. And there's no reason to think that what's happening up here is not the beginning of that.
Ed, all right.
How do I do that?
Pretty much guarantee that the price of gold is going to end up way down here. Whoa, down, 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 down. Anyways, that's what I think's going on. And some people call that conspiracy. They call that what's the plain nose painted onto my face. What do you think about gold, Edward?
I like the action today. I liked it, and I looked at some of these ETFs that have been extremely volatile. You know, the nugget was $42 a month ago. It hit $5 today, $5.10, closed at over 10. So it doubled from the bottom. I mean, the volatility is, I just hear Dow has had the worst point loss ever. I think gold's going to catch a bid, James. You know why? Because it's been around for 5,000 years. And when times like this happen, people look to those things that stand the test of time.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you see happening tomorrow, Ed? Another down day, or do you think the market?
We got to be getting close to where the, John Templeton, who is a brilliant investor, said you want to buy when the pessimism's the greatest. Now, is today, can it get worse than it was today? I mean, it can get worse, but didn't you feel that people were starting to panic? I mean,
well, there's a portion of the population that will panic in response to travesty, to adversity. And then there's a portion of the population that responds with a measured defense or reaction. And then there's a portion of the population that gets downright excited when adversity hits because they know that they have the mental fortitude to turn adversity to their advantage, regardless of the circumstances. I'm in the latter camp. I like to see things falling apart, especially when they've been allowed to progress to such a self-serving crescendo.
And let's face it.
I mean, the financial elite are.
I was just going to say, I sorry for interrupting, but I was going to say when you see, 6 people or 8 people have the same wealth as the bottom half of the world's population, doesn't that talk to a system that's already broken? Like, I mean, I don't know how you're supposed to dole out the money, but they've printed so much of it that it's always about the money. And now they're trying to make sure everybody's still, I don't know. It's insane. It's insane to me. It's insane.
Yeah, well, the insanity is going to continue, I fear, tomorrow.
The insanity of humanity.
The insanity of humanity. Looking on the bright side, the Canadian government has allocated $10 billion to help small businesses. I put in my $500,000 loan application on Friday. Within an hour, I'm going to make a similar application on behalf of the farm today. But this is the thing. If the government's going to find a way to help some people, they've got to find a way to help all the people if they are to be credible in the democratic context. And certainly in the United States, when they print $5.4 trillion and distribute it into the top layer of the financial system, that is by no means does that help the average guy on the street. Telling the guy he gets to stay home and he gets 2 weeks of paid sick leave when the company that has to pay him is not getting any revenue to cover that is a demonstration again of the extreme ineptitude that characterizes U.S. government, U.S. Economic management, and certainly U.S. journalism.
Interesting times.
So I guess we'll be back tomorrow with some more coverage. Day 7 of the great financial crisis / meltdown of 2020. And we will be back here at 3:00 tomorrow to dissect and hose all the sugar off the dog shit that the Fed and the U.S. media is feeding us. So join us back tomorrow at 3 p.m.